All right, back for another episode of the Randy Forcier podcast, joined by Shawn Boulet today. Shawn's a real estate investor, realtor, accountant, social media influencer. I'm excited to have you on, dude. Thanks for joining me.
Yeah, thank you, Randy. I appreciate it.
So, a lot to talk about, dude. But I will say, you're one of my favorite follows online, and just love the stuff that you put out there in general. And I thought one day, like, hey, I'd love to have him on the podcast. And when I reached out, you were happy to do it. So here we are.
I had a much longer beard too.
You did. What's
Yeah,
what's up with that? Why'd you cut it?
summer.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, it'll grow
dude,
back.
it
You
was
know,
like that was took like a good
I
6 months.
think I cut off like 6 inches.
Yeah,
Yeah,
love it, love it, dude.
yeah,
Love the white beard, the workout pics, the car videos.
yeah, yeah. It's all good. It's real
So,
life.
what's that?
It's real life.
It sure is, dude.
Yeah,
So yeah, a lot of things to talk about. Me and you were connected through real estate years ago. I actually bought a place off you back in I don't know 7, 8 years ago, something like
yeah.
that. We've kind of a little bit stayed in touch since then. But how long have you been a landlord for?
I bought a 2 unit that I lived in Portland on
Mhm.
Colonial Road in 1999.
Yeah.
So that was my first tenant I ever had was Carol. She lived next door, and uh, you figure out certain things with real estate. I figured out right away to check the thickness of the walls
Yeah.
because
No.
sometimes you can hear everything on the other side of the wall.
Yeah. So was that
Um,
a good buy for you at the time, or were you just
yeah,
happy to
I
own?
mean, at the time, people were like, "That's the most anyone's ever paid for a 2 unit in Portland,"
Really?
and this is
So,
it was, I paid
so
one
what
hundred
was that?
twenty-five thousand
It's
in
crazy.
1999, and that's in the Rosemont neighborhood.
Hmm.
And since then, they've made two condos, and I think each condo sells last time was like for $500,000 or something like that. Yeah.
And you were just happy to live there, have someone paying you some rent, help offset the
Exactly. For me,
mortgage.
it was just math. I had just got married, was trying to figure out how to not rent anymore, and a single family seemed like a stretch at the time. And so when you did the math, if as long as the other side paid, it was like half the living expense. So that's how I first got into it.
Which is a calculation that a lot of people are still doing nowadays. That hasn't changed.
Yeah.
A lot of people see what they qualify for on their own, and
Yep.
it's not where they need to be. So moving to a duplex where you can have some rental income certainly helps increase their options. But did you do it as part of like a bigger plan? Because we'll get to where you're at now. But was this like, hey, I want to get into real estate. This makes sense now, but it's my first step, or this was your entry point, and then you're like, I kind of like this, and then you wanted to grow from there.
Yeah, I mean, it didn't happen long after that. I remember, so I worked for Barry Dunn back in the day,
Mhm.
CPA, accountant, and I went to my boss and I was advancing every year, getting the max raise every year, working hard, and I said, "How do I like make a lot more money?" And he's like, "You don't." He goes, this is how it works. You work here for 25 years and you become partner and then you start making money." And I said, well, in my head, I was like, I need that to be a little bit faster. And so I just started researching different things and I ended up buying the Carlton Sheets real estate investment series and it had CDs and it was this huge massive book and that's when I first started. I mean, I literally turned to page one. It said, "Look for real estate listings in the newspaper." And so I called the first one I saw and I hooked up with the broker and
No kidding.
bought a 4 unit in Biddeford.
No kidding. And
Yep,
that's
same year.
that's pre-internet, obviously. So it's just things where it's like a different world as
Yeah,
far as all getting information and learning how to create systems and all that. Where'd you buy in Biddeford? Do you remember
19
the
Hill
address?
Street,
Okay,
which when I bought it, I was like, people call Biddeford Lewiston by the sea.
of course.
Um,
Still do.
and
Still
so it
do that.
looked I'm from Lewiston. It looked very familiar to me. And I remember buying it. I think I paid 110,000. It had a parking lot. And then when I started renting, you would place ads in the paper, and people would ask me, "Is that lower or upper Hill Street?"
Definitely lower,
And so
but
I didn't know that that was a thing, and apparently it was. It was a little bit rougher of a neighborhood back
yeah, it's
in the
that
day.
stretch between Main Street and Bacon Street,
Yeah,
probably. Yeah.
exactly. Yeah. But, I made it work and it got me in the game and it got me. That's what really got me thinking about like, uh, because how I bought that is I got an equity line on the 2 unit that I was
Hmm.
living in for $30,000, and then I bought the place in Biddeford.
Yeah, that was your down payment. It's
That
like
was
the
my down payment.
classic transition that people use to grow. So how
Yep.
many units do you have today? Is that something you put out there, or is that something you kind of keep to yourself?
Yeah, I have over 100
Yeah.
units. Yep. Yep. And really, there's like two landlord versions of me. There was one before 2009, and there's one that started back up in 2015.
Yeah.
That was the 2009 through 14 was a good learning experience, but really the 100 units have all been from 2015 till now, so only 10 years.
Yeah. So I think I probably bought the one I bought from you on Sullivan Street before 2015 because I think you were a part of transitioning. How
No,
I think that's
I think it was after, so that was my third purchase in Biddeford. So I think I went, but I did it pretty quick. So it was like 2015, 2016. So yeah, it was right. It was right. And then I sold all my stuff in Biddeford. And that's the one
that's
we
part
bought.
of
Yeah.
the deal that I bought.
Yeah.
So is all of your stuff residential? Is there any commercial type stuff, office,
I
anything like that?
have one commercial building in Lisbon Falls. It's just commercial tenants.
Mm-hmm.
That's an old Mason's Hall. That's kind of fun.
Yeah, I bet.
And then I have two more mixed use. So
Okay.
like 14 units, three commercial spaces, and then 5 units in commercial spaces, and then one residential.
So you're still actively looking to grow the units that you own.
Yeah,
If it
I
makes
mean,
sense.
every year I go in, I'm like, all right, let me just take a pause and I said that last year, and then I bought, one of the most expensive buildings I've ever bought
Yeah,
on Lisbon Street in Lewiston. So if the deal's there, it's hard for me still to not do it.
to pass it up.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I wonder how much of that is the market that you're in right now. Like the Lewiston market. Do you find that there's more deals to be had in Lewiston right now, or you're just there's deals anywhere? You just
There,
got to find.
there certainly was. I mean,
Yeah,
when I first transitioned from Biddeford to Lewiston, I was like, a kid in a candy store. I was like,
yeah,
oh, that's a good deal. That's a good deal. That's a good deal. And then as time passed, Portland passes rent control and COVID kind of at the same time. There was
yeah.
like someone flipped a switch, and all of a sudden, everyone was looking where I was looking.
Mhm.
And so it was getting harder and harder. And so I was like trying to go to levels that where there wasn't a lot of competition. I was buying bigger deals, where I felt like I could still get a good deal, but it with a lot less competition.
Yeah, there seems like there's a ton of cash, ton of 1031 money out there, ton of people that are looking at properties with different numbers than I have right now. Like, so I'm kind of focused in that Biddeford Saco area, and it's been hard for me to pull the trigger over the past couple of years just because it seems like nothing makes sense at this point. I almost wonder if Lewiston isn't quite at that point for whatever reason. But it
I
sounds
think it's pretty close in my opinion. It's just that at first I thought I was just getting old real fast, and I was in like remembering like the prices from 5 years ago. But I mean, 5, 6 years ago, you get a 4 unit for 150. The same 4 unit is like in Lewiston's 550. I mean, and the rents haven't gone up that many times. They've gone up for sure, but not that many times.
yeah. To see 200,000 a unit as the floor blows my mind. But I mean, a lot of those are owner occupants for 4 units or less. So it is a little bit of a different market with people looking for a little bit, looking for something out of their properties than rather than what I'm looking for.
Yep.
Um, as far as like a normal week as a landlord, what's that like for you? Are you doing the landlording thing all the time? Do you have anyone that's helping you with that?
Yeah. So once I started to get enough units, I had to come up with like a hybrid system. So I don't like have a property management company per se that like collects my rent and pays my bills and all that stuff. But I have a maintenance guy who take calls in the middle of the night. I have plumbers, electricians, painting crews, but I still collect all the rent and pay all the bills.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's the CPA side of my brain where I just have to have that control, but it also keeps me in the game. Like I actually want to know what's going on,
Totally.
at my properties.
Yeah, no, I mean, same for me. I have management, but I pay the bills and I don't
Yep.
collect the rent. But paying the bills definitely is a way to keep yourself involved in what's going on with the buildings from month to month.
Yeah.
So I
I
get that.
mean, a typical week is just how your tenants are feeling that week.
Yeah,
That could make or break your week, right?
if there's something in the air that week, yeah, for
Yeah.
sure, totally. But what do you think the biggest misconception people have of owning rental real estate?
Yeah, that's a good one. Being in it so long, I think people they look at spreadsheets and the spreadsheet is perfect, right? The numbers are all perfect. But then when you get in the business, you're dealing with people. At the end of the day, you have a building full of people and people dying, marrying, breaking up, all this action that doesn't show up on a spreadsheet. And so for me, there's a lot of work involved there. And so I get kind of wound up when people give you a spreadsheet and say it's a 6 cap or a
Mm-hmm.
7 cap. Like you can compare that to like the stock market or something else. I'm like, no, that 7 cap's a lot of work, right? I
Yeah.
mean, I know I'm going to have to deal with all this stuff. So it's harder than it looks, especially if you're into it. Like if you really care about your properties, you care about the people, you want it. To me, those go hand in hand. If the people are doing well, your investment's doing well. And that's
Mm-hmm.
kind of how I look at it.
Definitely. Yeah, there's a lot of like bad stuff that you have to deal with. Tenant issues. I mean, I had the DEA raid in one of my buildings before I might have told you about. So there's just like for people that I inherited when I bought the building. So I mean,
Yeah.
there's just like everyone thinks that owning rental property is just like sitting on bags of money, but it's not
No.
really that way at all. You're dealing with like the people stuff, and that can be stressful. Especially when you have a family and you have other jobs and other
Yep.
responsibilities. So I think that that's probably one of the biggest misconceptions that people have. So
And your phone's always on. I mean, there's no, people live in your property 24 hours a day, every
yeah,
day.
dude,
You know, you're always on. And at least that's how my brain works. I'm always on.
totally. Yeah, I've had frozen pipes in the middle of the night, and
Yeah.
you're there, just all hell's breaking loose, and you're
Yeah.
trying to keep it all together. So yeah, for sure, that's one thing that I don't think people realize. They're just thinking about the rent coming in each month, not thinking about the capex and new roofs and tenant turnovers and all that stuff.
Yep.
So, what do you think separates successful landlords from unsuccessful ones?
Yeah. I mean, again, I think I still go back to the people, and I don't know if that's just the way my brain works. If the people are happy, they're happy to pay rent, happier to pay rent. They're probably not going to leave as quickly. You're not going to have turnover. You're not going to have vacancies. All that stuff matters in the numbers. You won't see it necessarily in a spreadsheet, but if you treat people right and, like I'm friends with a lot of my tenants on Facebook. It drives my wife crazy, but I think it's worked for me. And I'm not sure I saw it in any landlording school or anything like that. It's just I look at the tenant a lot like they're a customer
So
versus some
being
sort of adversary.
so being a good person, good landlord is good for business.
It really, I found it to be really good for business. I have people that don't want to leave their apartment no matter what's going on around them because they want me as a landlord. Like I can't tell you how many people I've transferred from one building to another to get to a bigger building, and they've waited for months for
Yeah.
something of mine to open up. So that's a pretty good spot to be in as an investor landlord.
How do you handle? Well, I think it probably makes it hard to handle those situations where there's non-payment or property damage or things like that, or the fact that you have that good relationships really minimizes those things happening to the point that it's just a non-issue.
Yeah, I mean, when someone doesn't pay me, there's like almost this level of respect. I'm still going to evict you, but you know how I am, right? I mean, like we've had this relationship. I'm going to evict you if you don't pay me, but I'm also very willing to work on payment plans and give me a plan and I'll work it out. But also, once the eviction process starts, like I explained to people, you have to live somewhere. You have to pay rent to somebody. Why not me?
Yeah,
But,
yeah,
so I there it I don't have a lot of problems in court, to be honest with you, and I'll go all the way to court with the sole goal of working on a payment plan, a court approved plan, so that if someone messes up on the plan, you can evict them a lot quicker. If they stick to the plan, they get to stay. So that's always my goal when I take someone to court, eviction wise, is try and work it out all the way to the end.
Which makes sense. But if you're doing the good landlording piece, then you're really minimizing that stuff happening. Hopefully,
Yep.
Updated units. How do you handle rent raises? Is that something that you're trying to do a lot? I mean, the cost of oil and taxes and everything has just gone up. Have you really tried to be aware of your tenants' expenses, or if you're just like, hey guys, it is what it is. I'm getting killed on the other side, so I do have to raise the rents.
I think because once you scale up to a certain amount and you have enough rent coming in from everywhere, it does give me more flexibility to kind of, for the most part, leave people's rent alone. And then when I get natural turnover, then I get market rent on the new one, on the new vacancy. So I've really been able to ease into it, but I also think it matters how much I paid for the buildings, what my mortgage is, right? Did I buy it right? So I'm less up against it as far as that goes. So I tend to leave my rents
Yeah.
very affordable.
Yeah. So you can have the good tenants that way, but I do see, if you're buying stuff in the past couple of years, and it sounds like you have, it's a lot harder to do that.
It really is.
You're buying buildings on what the potential rent could be, not what it is now. Or if you're doing that, then you're obviously paying a lot less for it. But it's hard. I mean, on the mortgage side of things in my business, I get calls all the time from people that are looking to buy houses because someone bought their apartment building, they jacked up the rent, or they're just kicking them out in general because they want to update the places. But you can't not raise the rent when you're buying a building at the prices that we have today.
I totally agree with. It's that last building I bought last year, thankfully, it was listed for 2 in commercial world only, so it wasn't on the MLS, and I paid 2.
Yeah.
And it cash flowed at all the existing rents, assuming the commercial space was full. And it cash flowed pretty good. I mean, I think it was like an 11 or 12 cap.
Yeah.
And it's a completely redone building, so there's no capex. I mean, it was completely redone in 2022. So the numbers work, but the rents were up there for Lewiston, but I've turned a few of those units over and gone up on the rent, and that one's worked out. But definitely, like, if people are trying to get in the game, and you're right, they're buying properties at projected rents, and so the only way the numbers work is to change the rent. I totally get people who are in that situation. I agree. If you're buying, like, especially in the 2 to 4 unit, I mean, you have to try and grab market rent if people will pay it.
100%. How about filling that commercial space? Is that a concern for you at all? Like, to me, that seems like, holy shit, what am I going to do? Like, how am I going to find the perfect commercial tenant for my commercial space? So does it work out pretty well for you?
Right, downtown Lewiston. And, so I'm on Lisbon Street in Lewiston across from the library. And the building came with a commercial tenant. It was a marketing company, but I knew they were leaving when I bought it. So when I was shopping it out to banks, a couple banks just turned it. They're like, no, we don't want anything to do with any commercial component on Lisbon Street. But then I got like 5 different banks who would do it. And I think maybe coming from that area, I was a little bit confident and especially that storefront was really nice. It's not like, I mean, you're talking 15-foot ceilings and hardwood floors and glass. And so I was able to fill it within 2 months.
Yep.
And now it's a retail shop, like an artist retail shop. And there was an empty basement space that I rented that had never been rented before, and I rented it to a driver's ed company.
Oh, shoot.
So I got some found rent there too.
Totally.
Yeah.
They still do the classes in person, or is it just like their operations, or they're having people in there?
Yeah, no, the guy holds classes down there.
Love that, dude.
Yeah.
God, bring back memories. I was thinking the other day how I was just driving around. And I think I saw a driver's ed car on the road, and I was like, man, it's been like 30 years since I've done that. It's like been driving for that long. It's wild.
Yeah,
But
but your kids are getting to like you'll see. That's
my
fun.
my oldest daughter just graduated 8th grade last week, so yeah, dude, it's happening. You know, it won't be long for the
Yeah,
drive with that stuff.
yeah.
So when did you decide in all of this rental real estate stuff to get into the real estate business as an actual realtor?
Yeah, it was the second purchase when I had called that real estate agent, and then I said I want to buy this unit, and then he said to the other person, he wants to buy this unit. I said, and here's how much I want to pay, and then they wrote it down. It was like it seemed very like, and it was a new broker. It
Yeah.
was a brand new broker, so I wasn't getting a lot of like advice. It didn't feel like, and I'm like thinking in my head, I'm like, I could do this, and they just made 3%, like
Yeah.
on the buyer side. So I was like, so if I represent myself, I'm putting 5% down on these investment properties that were under 4 units back in the day. I get 3% back. So that's what I was just doing it for myself, for my own investing. And then what happened is my buddies were like asking me, "What are you doing? How did you get that? How'd you get that?" I'm like, "Well, I can help you find a property," and it kind of that side of my business kind of grew organically.
So
So
is your niche rental real estate, or you're just happy to help people buy anything at this point?
it certainly was, and then, of course, over time, you meet more and more people, and those people who are buying a 4 unit also own a house, and
Yeah.
I think you know, I developed some good negotiating skills, by going through the process a bunch of times, and that works with selling single family homes too, or buying single family homes. So,
Um,
so yeah, I do both. I have 4 listings right now, and see, one's a multi, and the other 3 are houses.
Still in that general Lewiston Auburn area?
No, I mean I have a listing in Scarborough. I have one in Wyndham. I have one in Auburn, and what's my other one?
Who knows, right?
I'm trying to remember. Like I know I got 4.
Hopefully it's moving fast.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, Portland. No, you're right. No, so I have 2 multis, and 2 singles. I got a 3 unit I just listed in Portland.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So where do you go from here? Like, what does the future for Shawn look like? It's continue to invest in real estate, selling properties. You obviously are CFO of a pizza dough company as well. Like, what's your future look like?
Yeah, I mean, when I first scaled up in real estate, I was like, this is going to be like, and I'm all about cash flow. I'm buying cash flow. The that is all I care about when I buy real estate is cash flow. I'm not looking for, oh, I hope it's worth more money in the future.
Yeah.
That'd be nice, right? I mean, but I'm just looking for cash flow. And so the idea was, when I started, all the loans will pay off in 20 years or so. I'll retire. I'll be collecting this. This will be my retirement.
Mhm.
So all these properties, the cash flow, and that's really still the goal. And at some point, my kids will get them, and they can decide, what they want to do with them.
Yeah.
But yeah, that hasn't changed. Like I'm still I'm mid 50s, and I still feel like I could do this for quite a while. I'm not like looking to get out or scale down or,
Yeah. The cash flow piece is pretty important because there's a lot of deals out there that are not cash flowing, and you could convince yourself banking on principal reduction or appreciation or something
Yeah.
along those lines. And it's just like, I think end of the day, the cash flow piece is super important. And for me, someone who uses bank financing to purchase properties, like you have to have a certain level of cash flow for them to be comfortable giving you a loan, but that's super important.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely. No,
So
I mean, you see people who they just want to get in the game, I feel like, and maybe they get some stocks. Maybe some people just want to buy real estate and just hold on to it, and maybe they don't need the cash flow. But I always viewed the cash flow as, if my cash on cash return is 25%, in 4 years I'm back to the same spot. I can buy another property. And if my cash flow is even fast, if I get my cash back that I put down on the last one even faster, I can buy and buy and buy.
yeah,
And so that's always what I was trying to do, is reload.
but we talked a little bit about it, but do you think that still exists, like that level of cash on cash return? I just I feel like I just have such a hard time finding it. Do you feel like
It,
that
no, I mean, not in Maine.
Hmm.
Everything, like, I don't know if people realize like how fast and how quick some of us realize
Hmm.
when COVID hit and all that out of state money, all those out of state investors, people from out of the woodwork just started buying like everything
Totally.
and drove the prices right up and drove the rents up and sort of caused this situation we're in where no, I don't think there are a lot of cash flow deals right now. I
Yeah.
hate to say it,
I'm glad
but
you did though, because like here I am listening to you, and I'm like, shit, Sean bought this stuff last year, and I'm just like, I've made a lot of offers on place in the past couple of years. I just haven't put together something in a while, and end of the day, it comes down to just me not liking the numbers, and I just don't know that what I want is even out there at this
yeah,
point.
and
Maybe.
that property. So I sold that property, which was not on the MLS, was not marketed, and so it was almost like a pocket listing. And I knew the guy, and he's like, "You have any interest?" It's almost like he thought that Lisbon Street and Lewiston wasn't good. Like I don't know if I got that sense was like, will anybody buy this property? You know, and the minute I walked through, I actually bought that with a partner that I had on an 8 unit I owned in Auburn, and we did a 1031. So we sold that 8 unit and then bought this big one. It was double the cash flow, and again, this is a 5 story brick building with an elevator that has been completely restored to the original. There is no, it's hard to describe, but like all the windows are huge black metal windows and like they didn't spare any expense. And so I felt really lucky on that one. That I don't know if that'll ever come around again.
And sometimes that's what it seems like it is.
Yeah.
Luck, or who you
Yep.
know, or the timing. But I would say it seems like the majority of deals that are out there, especially the stuff that's listed, it's just,
Ah,
those people are looking for top dollar. They're hoping to catch someone that's not educated or out of the market, and they just like have funny money to throw around or whatever. It's very frustrating.
I'm starting to sense a shift in the force, if you will. There's like this almost like a pause, like with rents, with prices, interest rates are, as you know, are kind of like just they've basically been the same for a little bit, I
Yeah,
feel like.
yeah,
And I'm starting to see fewer showings out there. Definitely
okay,
the multiple offer stuff. Every once in a while there'll be a property that everybody wants, but for the most part, the multiple offer stuff is really dried up and even the showings have dried up.
yeah. That's a
So,
sign.
it's I think that's the early stages of we're going to find out who really needs to sell and who doesn't.
Yeah,
And I think the rents are some of the very newer buyers have miscalculated the rents and how high they can go.
yeah,
There isn't an infinite amount of money that people make. And so when you're in this, especially this, like for me, the Lewiston Auburn market, you can't charge $3,000 because that's what your spreadsheet says. People only make 2,200. It
yeah,
doesn't matter if it's a 2 bedroom, a 3 bedroom, a 1 bedroom. That's all they make. So you
yeah.
can't say like, well, I got 1,800 for the 1 bedroom. I must be able to get 3,000 for the three. It doesn't work that way. So people's wages haven't kept up, and I think some of that's going to come to roost, and I think it's going to shake some deals out. I think at some point in the next year or so.
It'll be interesting to see.
Yeah.
So, if you were someone starting from scratch, what would you do when it comes to like rental real estate?
Today in Maine, I don't know if you could do it. Like I almost feel like I would like search for a real estate market
Yeah.
that's outside the state, like something that I thought was, you know, when I started in Lewiston, it was like really cool architecture in neighborhoods that weren't bad at all, and the buildings needed to be fixed up a little bit. And so I was like, in the geography, half hour from Portland. To me, that was the formula. It happened to be in Maine, which was a good thing for me. But I think you almost have to branch out and look in other areas. I feel like if you were going to start right today, I don't think you could do it in Maine right now.
Yeah.
You
It's kind of
know?
what I was hoping to say, because it
Yeah.
does feel like
Yeah.
that's the case. It is easier than ever to invest outside of the market you live in or have a familiarity with.
Yep.
Obviously, it's harder. You have to create some relationships and trust people, but it's not possible. You hear about people investing all over the place, Midwest and West Coast or down in Florida or whatever.
Yep, absolutely.
But that stuff spreads fast too in terms of which markets are kind of like on the upswing. But yeah, I mean, I think that probably makes sense. Just look someplace other than here, see what happens.
Yeah, yeah, and I'm not saying that just to like reduce my competition. I really, I mean, you could see it, you know. I mean, it's you know, like I just bought a 3 unit with my daughter,
Yeah.
who's 26, and she was renting. She actually had a pretty sweet set. She had an apartment above Gritty's
Oh, okay.
in her 20s. Yeah, so everything was going great till the Gritty's guy wanted to do something else with that apartment, and so I started looking. She wanted to stay in Portland, and we found a 3 unit on Outer Congress Street, and I helped her with the down payment, but she runs that property now. She collects the rent. The rents are enough to pay for mortgage taxes, insurance, and even after that, she has some money left over. So, but I feel like that next generation, like, it's almost like they're gonna need some help.
Yeah.
Like that. Like I feel like now that her and I are both on the deed, we're both on the mortgage. She lives there, so in Portland, that's important because you're not subject to rent control because it's owner occupied. So you can still do things like that, and then hopefully that start will help her do some more real estate stuff.
Have they always shown, you have two daughters, right?
Yep.
Have they always shown interest in the rental real estate side of things, or have you had to like make an effort to get them to understand how that works? And
My oldest definitely was like on the real estate stuff, and my youngest, I said, I'll help you do the same thing I did with Anna. I'll help you. And she's like, no, I don't want to do that. she's more the artsy, everything will work out, and just wants to get an apartment, doesn't want to rely on dad. And it was funny because my oldest is like, well, you can move into my building. She's like, absolutely not. They get along great, but they are
yeah,
sisters. So.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's super cool that you could help her out. I think of my kids. It's too early for me to be able to tell my kids like
Yeah.
if they will have any interest in that stuff, and I'm not about ready to get out spreadsheets and kind of walk them through how it all works. But I hope at some point down the road, one of them has a little bit of interest in some of the knowledge that I have in that realm. So
Yeah,
good for
definitely.
her, dude.
Yeah. She's pretty psyched, and I think she's even talking about the next building she buys. So right now she's in a 3 unit.
Mhm.
She'll go to, and she's got a. I'll probably have a son-in-law at some point, but they're both talking about buying a 2 unit,
Yeah.
right? So I think that's really smart, right? Go to the 3 to the 2, and then you keep the 3, that cash flows, then you get in the 2, you get some equity there, and then you go to. I think the younger generation should really look into like take. Everybody wants the big colonial, with the yard and the fenced in yard and stuff. But I really think it's smart to start with a multi if you can. It's not that big a deal to manage. It's one other family. It's two other families that you have to talk to.
Yeah.
It's not that big a deal. And I think it gives you a really good base, at least have some assets, and pay off that mortgage, especially when she's in her 20s. In 20 years, she'll be in a pretty good spot.
Have this conversation all the time with people. And if anyone is at all inclined to own rental real estate, buying a multifamily as your first purchase, using low down payment, FHA
Yeah.
loan, even a conventional loan, like it's not going to get any easier than that. If you buy that colonial first that you're talking about, and then try to buy the 4 unit, you need 25% down. And on these $600,000, $700,000, $800,000 4 units, it's a couple $100,000 potentially.
Yeah.
It's a lot of money, So if you are smart enough to do it as your first purchase and keep it to 3.5% down, you'll be so happy. I'm like super confident in that.
Absolutely.
I think it's
Yeah.
I think it's
Yeah.
a no-brainer. And then you can buy that.
Just gotta have a little patience, just a little bit of patience.
And that's hard. That's hard for some people.
Yep.
I mean, I think a lot of people want things immediately, but all you got to do is live in that place for a year, and then you can kind of move on.
Right.
Obviously, it takes more than a year to build notable enough equity to be able to tap into it for the next thing if that's the way you want to go. But like, regardless of all that, just getting into it with the low down payment is like I think a no-brainer for a lot of people. And
Yep.
people are definitely aware of it. It's just it can even be hard with all that. It can still be hard for people with the rent coming in and the purchase prices still. But if you can make it happen,
Yep.
I think it's a great situation. So I think that's a great spot to end it, man. Like I
Okay.
said, I want to have you come on. Love all the stuff that you're sharing online. You told me when we're offline, you're getting paid to be on social media now, so it's freaking awesome. You're an official influencer. So,
Yeah.
uh, where do you do most of your posting? I mean, I follow you on Facebook. Is that like your main thing?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's my age,
Yeah, right.
and then I clicked a button because someone said, look, you got to post the stuff on Instagram too. So if you just click a button, like the stuff you post on Facebook goes on Instagram,
Automatically. Yeah.
yeah, automatically. And that's kind of like, I don't have a TikTok. My daughter is like all over me to like, you got to get the TikTok, but I feel like I have enough jobs. I mean,
Yeah.
I just do it for fun, to be honest.
Well, one of the things that for you just creates a lot of conversation, and
Yeah.
it's fun to engage with people and your stuff. Yeah, would it work for TikTok? It probably would, but I think the way you're using it's fine. A bunch of shorts, I guess, right? Is that what you call them on Facebook? Like just the
Yeah, yeah,
reels,
no,
yeah,
stories, reels, I don't know.
stories, yeah, stories.
Yeah,
But like then you also post thoughtful information just in like regular posts as well. I always
yeah,
start conversations.
yeah,
So that is the best place for people to find you if they want to follow you. It's on Facebook.
yes, definitely.
Cool.
Yep.
So I'll share that stuff. And dude, thank you so much for coming on. It was great chatting. Love what you're doing, and hopefully do it again sometime.
Sounds good, Randy. Appreciate it.